Hello and welcome. So we have a very special tour of LEGOLAND Billund for their Brick or Treat event, and as you can see, it is night. It is basically after hours, and we are now going to go around and have a look at absolutely everything that this park has on offer with it all lit up. You've got the castle in the background, which is all orange, and it looks incredible. So hopefully the camera will pick it up. And we are away. Now, this is just going to be an uncut, raw walk around. The first couple of snippets are actually the bits that I've actually edited together before I did the introduction. Then after that, it's just going to be raw and gritty as we walk around, because I just think everything looks absolutely fantastic. The lights and everything. I just want to give you the best experience possible walking around. Now, this is the first ever time I have managed to do a Legoland at night, and the fact it was at Legoland Billund and how they put all the lighting absolutely everywhere and how each coloured zone is completely different is incredible. Now, I did say in one of the other videos that this was the water feature with regards to them playing this sort of Pirates of the Caribbean bit. We will get back round to that right at the end. So we are starting the tour from here and we are finishing it where we have just seen that water display, and we're going to do a full loop around the park. Obviously, I'm not going to go down every single path because it would have been a lot longer, but it's just a slow walk around. It might be a bit bouncy in places just because it does get darker and darker, but just bear with it, because when we get to the really light bits and you've got all the light shows and things, it comes through nice and clear on the camera. But these are all the nice effects. So you've got the lights with sort of the smoke going across the sort of pond and sort of swamp area that they've created. And then you've got all of these other different coloured lights dotted all over the place. It really is something that I highly recommend you trying to experience if you can. If anybody went to Legoland Windsor and it was anything like this with regards to the night, then obviously please do let me know. But I did not spot any lights or anything like that when I went around during the day at Legoland Windsor. But this has been bugging me for just over a year, because I remember walking back to the airport, walking past the front gate and seeing everything lit up, not realizing that at the weekends they're open much later. So I've spent the whole year looking forward to this, and it really did not disappoint. And the Miniland area as well, that was absolutely incredible. So as it gets darker and darker, certain rides will start to shut off, whereas some of them are open throughout the whole sort of evening. Rides closed at 8, the park shut at 9, but the bigger roller coasters and things probably started to close off just after 7 when it started to get a little bit darker, so they did stagger it. But they did have signs up letting people know that when it gets dark, this ride goes to sleep, and others, which we will spot and see, were open, like for example the haunted house, which looked amazing lit up at night. That was all open with a huge queue for everybody to come through and get in. So obviously, because that's an indoor dark ride attraction, you had the choice of either doing the ride or just the walk through attraction. But you can just see now how nice and effective all the lights are. Now, this is right at the very edge of the park, so we are currently walking past the river rapids. The orange bit in the background, that is the castle, which looked amazing again. I'm going to sort of run out. I'm going to need to create new words, to be honest, because when we start seeing bits and I stop like this and pan up, you can just see how clear it all is. So just bear with it if it does get darker and darker, because obviously certain areas it is very dark, so the camera might struggle a little bit. But when we get to where we need to go, you will be absolutely fine, and hopefully you'll be enjoying this as we go around. So if you did manage to get over here for the Halloween season, did you even know that this was a thing that they do at the weekends? Did you catch any of the lighting at all? Because it's just such a nice thing to experience. But you can see actually when you come out the trees, the sky isn't that dark, so the camera does get a little bit brighter. And then obviously as it starts getting darker and darker, you know what I mean with regards to the camera struggling a little bit. But that's the toilet blocks on the left hand side, and they've even made an effort with all the lighting on the left. We are now coming in and around into the pirate section. So like I said, we are going to do a full loop and just walk through every single land. We're not going to cut through every single bit of thing, like every single path, but we will be seeing lots of bits. So we are now coming into the walk area, which is where you can sit down. That is obviously a plane taking off from the Billund airport, but I think again the water feature that they've got lit up at night just looks really nice. And if you did have some food and you just wanted to sit down, you can obviously sit around it, do what everybody's doing, getting their photo taken at the front. You can walk directly behind that as well, and then you can loop round through this sort of grass area. You can see all of the tables and chairs, which obviously nobody is using now, but this is a very popular and busy part of the park
For lunchtime, there's lots and lots of seating area around sort of the Naked Pirate, and there's just lots to see and lots to do as we loop around. Obviously, because it just happens to be Billund and it always rains that I'm there. It does rain a little bit, so you're going to have to excuse the thumb of me trying to clear everything. If there's a little bit of haze on the lens, it is what it is. So you're just going to have to put up with it. But they have got lighting absolutely everywhere, and as we walk around, you will see the massive Lego model at the top, just how well lit that is. And if the water does look a little bit odd and bizarre to you, it's because they have dyed the water red, which again I think is a really, really nice touch for their brick or treat event. If you have been to a Legoland and it has been sort of after hours or out of hours or anything like that, then obviously please do let me know in the comments below. This is the bits that I'm not going to be taking out. I normally would just take all of that out and you just skip to the next thing, but I just wanted to keep it raw and ready. So if the camera hits the floor, it is what it is. It's just because I wanted you to see that there are still people about at this time. There was loads of people coming in mid-afternoon just to experience this for the evening, because the Miniland, which is not part of this loop, we will see a little bit right at the end, but we have not added the main thing in. I've done a full walkthrough for the Miniland as well, and the lighting in that just looks outstanding. So you can see that ride is working, where they're climbing themselves up and down on the ropes, and you get a nice little view of the park. You've got plenty of spotlights up in the trees. Now, the water that we're walking around, that is a big soaking ride. It is the one that you guys and girls had in Florida that got then taken away, and the Lego Movie 2 section went there. We never had that installed in the one in Windsor. I do believe they do not have it over in Germany, but they are crazy enough to keep it here, and you can get soaking wet stood on the outside looking at everything, and you can also get soaking wet while you're on the boat, because you end up fighting each other with sort of water pistols. But because obviously it's cold, they shut that off and then they make a big theming of it. Cutting in and coming around, this is where a lot of the rides are still open. You can see all the little ones looking around. The Miniland is just to the left. This is the haunted house to the front. Now, at certain points, I think they had big white spotlights on as well, but we will have a better look at that after, because we're coming up and coming around now, and we're going to go all the way basically to the entrance to where the shop is. The safari ride is this thing just to the right hand side, which is running. You can see the guys and girls on the little safari wagons just shooting around, and again that looks really nice lit up just with the normal lighting. You've got to remember that a lot of the rides aren't meant for after dark, so they have to have extra lights in. The little boat ride to the left hand side, for example, that is not running, obviously, because it's water and it's night, and it's not like they've got massive spotlights there all year round, because during the summer and when this is open, it's where the clocks has changed, so it's still light when the park closes. It's only ever, I do believe, the weekends of Halloween, and I don't know what they do for Christmas. I don't know if they are open up later. They are open for the 2022 Christmas period for the first time in a very, very long time. So it'd be very interesting to see how popular that is, and if they do sort of a after hours type thing like this, where I say after hours, it's just where the park is open up till much later, so it gives you that opportunity to walk around and have a look. Because I do believe Windsor most of the time is shutting at 4 o'clock, so they actually close before it gets dark, so you're not even going to be able to see a lot of their lighting and things, and that's during midweek. Weekend it might be closing not either 5 or 6, so you might get a little bit of an inkling to what it looks like. But you can see there to the left hand side, that is where the boats are. It was very well lit on the actual models, so you could see the models, but the water and everything, they haven't got any spotlights or anything in the water, so it's just pitch black, so you can't see everything. So that did have a sign up saying basically when the sun goes down, that ride closes. That is the Miniland. That is all to come in a different video. That looks to me incredible. I could not believe when I was walking around it and just how pretty that looked and how effective all the lights were and everything. So you'd be walking around and there'd be dark patches, then you can see inside a lot of the buildings. We will do our very, very best to have a look. And if you look through the trees, the observation tower is dressed up as a pumpkin. That is working up and down. All of the eateries were open, so the pizza place directly in front of us, obviously that was all open. All the burger places were still open, the ice cream and everything like that. There was loads and loads of things to eat, drink and do as it got later on. But you just had to remember that obviously certain rides like the main roller coasters and things, and some of the outdoor rides where they're not set up for nighttime, they will be closing before the park shuts. They will shut stuff staggered. to obviously start to encourage people to leave at a half decent time, otherwise you will be here for a huge amount of time. But that is why all of this area is massively lit up, so when bits and pieces in the park starts to get dark, there's so much still to do, but not necessarily just all the rides. So if you are thinking of trying to do some of the rides at night, make sure you pay attention to what the artwork and things say on the signage, because you might be disappointed. I was clever enough to do the haunted house at lunchtime and I just walked straight through. That video is available along with a lot of the others that are in the Legoland Billund playlist. We've got full park tours and we've got all sorts of updates to the parks, and it done in bite-sized chunks within different sections. But again, this is where the entrance is, so this is the first thing you will see and the last thing you'll see as you come in and come back out again. You've got the clothing to the left hand side and you've got the big Lego shop to the right hand side, and it just looked very, very impressive. It's actually more orange and it just gives a whole glow off on the floor to what the camera's actually picking up, but it was a very, very effective thing. You can see you've got all the hay bales and all the pumpkin bits and pieces on the floor. The theming as you first come in to the park is extremely impressive, and obviously you can see all the lighting from the outside of the ticket bit. So where directly underneath those orange lights now, they are all your walkways in and out with your sort of turnstiles. You've got your storage lockers up at the top this way. You've got like your first aid station will be up this way, and also you've got some information and sort of like a help point, that's the word that I'm looking for. So you've got a help point up that way. You can see there's lots and lots of people leaving, but there's still plenty of people about and just looking everything, because don't forget, because of the age demographic, some of these might have been in from first thing in the morning and now they will then leave, and it sort of thins out through into the afternoon. But at certain points you could have quite a busy sort of crossover period. But we are now going to go from the park, and like I said, we're going to go all the way down in a straight line, which means the shop and everything will be to our left. We will then walk down Brick Street, which is renamed Monster Street. We'll cut down to the 4D cinema, then that leaves us round by the Duplo. We've got the Ninjago, lots and lots of stuff to see. Now the tree directly in front of us, where it just looks like there's orange lights, they are all Lego brick pumpkin heads, which look, again, fantastic lit up. And there's just got all of these types of things dotted around all over the actual mini land area. So this is the first bit for the main brick or treat event for the little ones, where they could actually go and get their goodie bag and then they start running around everywhere. You can see what I mean about how cool those little pumpkins look like. And yes, it is raining, so we'll just have to bear with it, and I will keep wiping the camera as much as I possibly can do. To the left hand side, it's the shop just there, and then you've got directly in front is another character, sort of like disco place, where you can see it now. I've finally rubbed it off, and it's got the timing. So that is where you have your monster cave. So you've got another meet and greet for all the different monsters. And then as we come down, you've got a Duplo building section, and there's other little bits and pieces on display as well, and things that you can do and build as we come down the Brick Street. So like I said, everything to the right hand side, we've got all those amazing lights there, so the blues, the purples and everything. That is all available in a separate video. We'll have a good look at all of that, and I'm looking forward to actually putting that one together, because I've not yet got to that file yet. So if you do want to see all of the videos previous to this and the ones that are following, head over to the Billund 2022 playlist for the Legoland Billund. That is, if you want to see more of just the Lego house, then there is a Lego house playlist available as well, and then there is a how-to / accommodations playlist of me basically walking around Billund, Dubai and places like that, and just pointing out the easiest places to get to, where you can do bits and pieces with regards to just staying and how you can get from point A to point B and so on and so forth. But back to the park, Rebuild the World to the left hand side. We are now on the renamed Monster Street. So the Monster Street is where it has all been redone with obviously the different Halloween theming. Usually it's Brick Street. Now the reason why it's called this is because to the left hand side, that is the main hotel. So the hotel to the left hand side, you've got all the different colours. Each one of them represents different rooms, and those rooms then look out over the actual theme park, which I think is a really, really nice thing. I did say in one of the other videos it would be a nice thing to try and stay in over the Christmas period, but I'm just not going to have the time now, because the time that I was thinking of coming over, the flight is just far too expensive, which is such a shame. But I'll try and do it next year instead. But if you are staying here for Christmas, or you are managing to get to the this theme park at Christmas time. Please do let me know in the comments below what it's like, because I know they have made a huge effort this year, so I'd really like to go down and sort of support them. But we'll have to see what the future holds. If I can find a much cheaper flight sort of between Christmas and New Year and the park's open, I will try and get down. But share it in the comments below if you have managed to do it, or if you are thinking of going, because going by their Instagram pages and things like that, it does really look worthwhile going down. It does really look like they've made a massive effort, and the fact they've had to pull loads of this out and then completely retheme it is a massive credit to all the staff and everything that is located at LEGOLAND Billund. So thank you very much for anybody that was part of putting this display together. It is massively appreciated. So we are now, for reference, where are we? We are walking around the back of the Duplo section. So this is a slightly different section that I did not take in the tour. You can see Brick Street and Monster Street is forking off in the background to the left-hand side. So you can go either as like a fork shape, so you can either go left, straight line, or right. We've decided to go right. You've got a couple of the little "you're coming back, you're alive" sort of loaded tombstones, and then in the middle here, that is where you get your driving license. And then there is another bit in front where that is, I do believe, a part of the Brick and Treat. I'm trying to think which one that is. I think it's one of the princesses, and you can get some of your bags and different bits like that. It looks like it's one of the Frozen princesses. It's based on one of the CMF minifigures. So in and through there, another toilet block, but also a full history of the company. That is also a shortcut through to the Miniland area as well. And then as we come through, this is what I mean about you've got the shacks. So they are open. Obviously, they are open till basically when the park closes. But the age demographic of the little ones running around, they would have done all their little bits and pieces by now, and it will just sort of continue through. So you've got another first aid station to the left, and you can see all the orange lighting in the far distance. We'll be having a good look at that as we start walking around the rest of the park. We are 16 minutes in, and it's just over a 40-minute video. So hopefully you're bearing with it so far, and you are enjoying the little bits and pieces that you see. It was an absolute pleasure for me just to walk around, because like I said, there's hardly anybody about in certain sections of the park, because obviously certain bits and pieces, the rides and things were closed, but it was extremely well lit and themed, like that tree for example, and you've got all of these orange lights and everything within the next section for the Wild Wild West. Down in this way, I was saying that if I carried on walking in a straight line, that would have been your 4D cinema. But do you recognise that shape in front of you? That orange shape is the Ninjago. So that is the Ninjago bit. You'll have two gates there. You can walk in and walk through. That video is up multiple times. We're seeing all sorts of different bits and pieces. And those buildings to the right hand side where they've got all the orange pumpkins on, that is your Fanta stop, so you can grab yourself a drink. Again, that is part of the Brick or Treat game, and you can then obviously just get your bits and pieces. But as the park started to thin out and the hours started to come to an end, they would obviously close the one kiosk and leave the other one open. But I think they only run it on the Saturdays. I don't think they were doing this on the Sundays. So if it was something that you wanted to do, make sure you do read everything on the website, because obviously you don't want to come and turn up and then miss out completely. If you had seen what they had done at Windsor, what they had done at Windsor this time is for some reason just decided to put all of them together, which I personally think it was better how they did it the year before. It did create a nice street with regards to going in there, but it was very much a case of you just went around like a horseshoe, you filled up your goodie bag, and then you left, and then everybody was then just doing the rides again. It just felt a little bit spacious and thinned out in certain places because all of their Halloween decorations were clumped together, whereas this, they have just got it absolutely everywhere. But it is what it is. It's everybody's own take on the park. I think they've done a nice job with Ninjago. They basically used all of the normal lighting that they will have there with regards to, obviously Ninjago will have all of these timed lights on all the time anyway, but they've just added in a few extra with the orange, because obviously you've got to remember what kind of thing Ninjago is. So they'll always have sort of like the lanterns and things like that. I do like all the spotlights and stuff that are on top of the actual models there. All of the figures look very well lit, and if you hadn't caught the video yet already, they put the masks and everything on all the pumpkins, and I think it just looks very, very effective. So I think this is a really nice sort of tidy take on doing the Ninjago area. I think it's a really nice looking thing. So that's what I mean about the pumpkins. That's what they've done with the sort of the faces and everything on there. I think it just looked very, very smart. We will continue and carry around into the next section. So we are now walking in to where the 4D cinema is and coming to the back end of the Brick Street. You can see how busy that cafe is. Like I said, all the restaurant areas and everything were open. and this has already been filmed in different sections during the day, and then like I said, I'm just putting it all together. So I am doing a big loop. I actually walked further than what I thought I did. I thought I might have missed some bits and pieces out, but I would imagine what we'll do, we'll cut back round and then loop it back through. You've got the music bit to the right hand side, you've then got the burger star bit to the left. That is where you can get your Halloween style fries and burger. Your fries are green and your burgers are purpley colour, I do believe. The artwork on that was pretty cool, so I don't know what it tasted like. Big photo opportunity just in the middle there. You've got your sweets and ice cream and everything. You can see the lights are on that now, and there are people in there, so you can go and get your bits and pieces from there. And then as we come back round, we'll loop back round, and then we'll have the Duplo bit, which is where the tree is lit up to the right. That is your big photo opportunity now from the front, because you can walk up and then stand in that big Lego pumpkin. From there, you can then obviously get your photo taken and everything, and then you'll just carry on and move down and round. So I do believe from here we'll then start walking to the Wild West section, and we will then start seeing a lot of other different bits and pieces with the lighting. And then we still got to look at. We still got to have a look at the Lego Movie 2. We've got to have a look at the Knights, we've got to have a look at the rest of the pirates, and then obviously we'll finish, after we've had a look at the Polar Explorer section where all the penguins are, we will then also be having a look at where we started for the rest of the theming that is there. But you can see that the sky is just getting darker and darker, but I'm quite happy that the lighting is still coming through half decent, so hopefully it's not too dark on the devices that you're watching this on, and it is coming through clearly enough, which is a good thing, because I think if I had the camera facing me, I don't think you would have seen my face, to be honest. But we will continue and carry on, and we'll get ourselves into the next section of the park, which, like I said, will be, I do believe, the Wild West section. There are more seating directly in front, which I know is a little bit hard to see, and then you've got all the lighting and things coming through from the left-hand side. I am walking through lots and lots of people, so if you're wondering why it suddenly got very dark, they are human beings that we are walking through and around, because the ghost train was running at certain times, but I think a lot of people just stood there coming out of the restaurants and just having a look at all of the lighting that was in this section. So this is like your main eatery hub as such. So this is where you can grab yourself a good bite to eat. Loads of seating on here. This is also where you can actually, it does say that you can sit down and bring your own food, and you can, eat where they are. You've also got the horses just to the right hand side, and then you have your minifigure and more store as well. So there's lots and lots of things to see, lots and lots of things to do, and there are a couple of members of staff, as you can see, with torches. Now I do believe they have, this is it, a brand new section here which was still open, where this is your boat race. So this is the first time I actually properly got to look at this, where you build different bits and pieces at the top. I think I ended up getting my phone out and actually getting a light on it just to have a better look at it, either on this one or the next one. And there's just lots to see, because we are up coming round by the log flume, and right in front of us now is where you do your searching for gold. So there's lots and lots of bits and pieces located within this section, because if you carried on walking down in a straight line, that will then take you to the roller coaster, which obviously was not running because it was that dark, nor was the log flume. You can see what I mean about the rides not being meant to be working at night, because they've got all the spotlights and stuff up on the trees, but they're not going to be climbing up into the rides and getting all of that set up, just because they haven't got it set up for the track and bits and pieces like that, just because of what normally the time this park will close. But I think all of these displays look very effective. These are all obviously the extra bits and pieces that you've added in onto the floor, and then as you just stop and try and soak everything in, just the amount of lighting and the amount of everything that they've used, I think it is a very well done section of the park. And how the fact that each zone is slightly different, I think it looks really nice as well. I just think obviously the orange is the go-to colour for Halloween. I think it just works quite nicely. Now if you want bearings, that is your go figure. So we've had a good video in there. That is where you build up your minifigures, and then if you have been here before, you'll be getting a little bit lost because it is a little bit dark. To the right hand side now, that is where you've got your carousel. So a big reason why this area is so busy is there's lots of different eateries. So you've got the quick fast food with the hot dogs, and you've got the sat down restaurants as well. So you'll see people as we're going around on the tables and chairs. It will get a little bit bouncy here, but it will soon start to smooth out. You also have lots of bits and pieces to do with regards to just doing things that are undercover, but obviously it is getting to that time of evening where everybody does want a bite to eat. But we are still walking down where all of the food bits are, and then we will see soon enough there's some massive Lego models. That'd be where the Indian one is with the waterfall coming down, and if we carry on walking in a straight line, you will then have the haunted house as well. But you can see all the little tables and chairs sat down with all the lighting out the front, and then when we move on a little bit into the left hand side, obviously I will stop so it won't be as jaggedy, because this section of the park is a little bit dark as the camera does struggle a little bit, but you can see just how nice that looks. And then when I pan across to the right hand side, which is just there, you will then see the big model as well, and that is where all the water and everything comes down. And then further on from that will be where the haunted house is to the left, and there is a play area to the right hand side up a load of stairs. So lots and lots of different bits and pieces to do within this section of the park. But I think the haunted house at night, it just looks fantastic. And again, they didn't actually end up putting the spotlights on the front of it, I don't think, but it did look very, very effective with all the orange lights and everything on the front this year. So I don't know if they did that last year and it was just old artwork, or if it's just a random pitch that I've seen from elsewhere. But it was really nice to see all the orange and everything around it. But you can see the queue. Look how massive that queue is. It zigzags all the way through. There's lots and lots of people there waiting to get on and have a walk round, and you can see, just imagine how big that queue would have been when it's full. The inside of it is exactly the same, but you can see it just says Ghost by Night, and it's got the time underneath. I just went during the day and there was no queue at all, it was just a straight walk on. So again, things to take into consideration. Obviously it does give you something extra to do, but I would more than happy just walk around all the park and just soak everything in. Obviously where we started is where we're going to finish, and there was a lot of different bits and pieces to have a look at and soak in with regards to walking all around the water and everything. But you can see that the smaller rides are still going on. They've got the lights and everything on them, so they're nice and safe and sound. So there was still lots of rides still running up within this section. You had the safari is just up in here, and then obviously you've got the mini land to walk around. You've got the haunted house as well. The only one that wasn't running would obviously be the ones that involve water, so that's the boat ride. But I think all the theming up this way just at night looks brilliant. You can see how heavy it is raining as well. And again, you have got a lot of places where you can go in and build as well. So there was a massive haunted Lego wall there where you had, it was all undercover, and you can just sit down, you can build loads of little monsters and things and add it in onto the wall display. And then you have this massive spider here, which is again by the haunted house. This is actually on the spinning spiders, which is the equivalent of the teacups that they've got at Legoland Windsor, and they've got that over the top of the ride, whereas this one, they just use it for more decorative pieces. Now we are coming into the top part of the pirate sections. We've already done the bottom part of this. We've sort of come up and done a big sort of figure of 8. We walked down in a straight line up the other way, so we haven't yet done this bit. This bit then connects you to the castle section if we carried on going around, but it also links you into the Wild West section. So you can see, when I get my hand out the way, just how nice all the lighting is. There's your pirate eyes that I was saying about before. Lots of places to eat on the left hand side. I did get absolutely drenched walking back because it stopped raining when I left. I walked down the long walk, and then there are videos available under the how to get around accommodation / the Legoland Billund playlist of me walking to the hotel, and I just started to film it again and it paused down again. So it seems to be every single time I've got the camera out it rains heavily, but that would have made a really nice photo with all of the lights and everything up at the trees. Where those lights were is where you can actually sit down, and there's loads of sort of seating area just up on that bit as well. We did do a full loop of the pirate section by day, so if you want to sort of see all the little like nooks and crannies and things, we did walk around and hunt down all of the Lego models. But I think the water, because it is red, it does look very, very effective, and it's got all the lighting and everything across. Now if we carry on going, you can see there's a queue to the left hand side. That is just for, I think, donuts and different bits and pieces like that. These two were laughing and loving those models. He had a brilliant laugh. It was one of those where he just wanted to get as many photos as possible with those two sort of skeletons. They did have like name badges on and were dressed up a little bit in works uniform. And now we've come back up to the top, so if we were to walk in a straight line, that would then link us to where we just were, which takes you into the Wild West section. You can see all the pay-to-plays on the left-hand side, and then I think what we'll do is we'll then start walking and turn right, I do believe. Down in this section, if I can remember off the top of my head, it will go all pirate into the castle, then into the Lego Movie into the Polar Explorer, and then that leads us into the last bit. So we've got 5 zones to go in about 15 minutes, so we'll soon torpedo through everything. Again, That is where the boat ride is. That is obviously not working. That is, I say not working, it's not running. That was working perfectly fine all day. But again, it involves water and you don't have the lights and everything over the top of it. But you keep saying it's not set up for a night thing. It's just safer to actually close it off. But it would have been quite cool to do it at night because you would have had all the models and everything. But again, they wouldn't be lit, so you wouldn't really be able to see anything that's outside. But then everything inside would just be exactly the same. Lots of theming again with all the pumpkins and everything within this section, and you've got some little shops that you can walk in. This is the section where you can actually buy all your shields. You can buy your little pirate hats. They have the Lego models that will then link you through up to where the water was as well. So we walked to the waterfall at the start. We're just walking sort of like a parallel path back to where we were. That is the shop directly in front of us. To the left hand side you do have bits and pieces where you can get sweets and ice cream. Orange is the castle, so we're getting close to the castle now. You can just see how big a scale that thing is, and I think it looks brilliant lit up. Let us know if they used different colours last year, or if anything has changed from last year, because I'm pretty sure the lighting that they've got on this is what they used for the Lego Hotel Castle last year, because that wasn't lit up in orange, but it was all the same sort of strip lights that what we've got now. If they used a different colour last year or they did something slightly different, then obviously let us know. I know the observation tower is different this year because what they've done is that they've just obviously dressed it up in orange. They did do that last year, but they actually had like a pumpkin mesh on the glass where it looked fantastic lit up at night, but it was quite difficult to see bits and pieces on the inside. So this year they haven't added that in. So I think it's best of both worlds. You still get the really nice effect, but then obviously when you're on the observation tower it's nice and simple to see. But I didn't actually manage to get on that this year, which is a little bit of a shame, because that would have been really nice to get on that and go up to the top. But you can imagine just how big the queue was for that, because it was right beside the Miniland, and obviously everybody wants to see everything lit up at night, but I was quite happy just walking around. Now you have got obviously a lot of the paths, it isn't as dark as what it looks. Now that is the flashes in the background of the coaster. Now this coaster was still running because like 90% of this coaster is all done indoors, but I never managed to get back and get on it, which was a bit of a shame. But you can see the coaster is working, and they have got all the lights and stuff around the track on this one, but it's just done slightly differently because a lot of the ride is actually done inside. Then you've got a little bit on the outside, where the Polar Explorer, which closed slightly earlier, it's a much quicker ride and more of it is outside than it is inside. But again, just look how nice this castle looks. If the queue line and everything was all lit up on the inside, please let me know in the comments below, because I'll make sure that I will try and do when I come back next year. And if this is lit up amazingly like this next year, it's always nice to see the changes of everything. But hopefully it's something that you might think, actually, I would really like to try and ride that at night, and because it might be the only opportunity you'll get. Again, they might be doing it at Christmas for the 2022 season, I don't know. But the Christmas opening hours are now available on the Legoland Billund website, just like they are from Windsor as well. I do believe Germany, I don't think, are doing a Christmas season, because I think they closed after Halloween and then they reopen again for the next season, which would be March, April next year. So it is a little bit different to the American parks, because we are seasonal, because obviously the weather this way is atrocious. I do believe the park in Florida is open all year round. I think the one in New York will close. I don't know what it does for California. So if you have stumbled across this video by mistake and you have a local Lego park, then obviously please let everybody know in the comments below, because if people are thinking of going away for Christmas and they want to go to those parks, at least they'll then know, and if it's just easier to find the information within the comment section rather than obviously having to find it all through the website, especially if they are updating the different bits and pieces. That in front of us now is where they do all the Pirate Castle shows. I've yet to see one, actually. I keep missing the time slots where they're available, and we're at the top of the Viking River Splash. So we've done the full side of it, so you've now seen basically all of the Viking River Splash. We are just by the seats now. I tried to be clever and cracked my shin on one of the seats because I wasn't looking where I was going. So if the camera does end up jumping, that would be the reason. That would be the reason why. But it was all good fun. But it does look very, very effective again, with all the different coloured trees lit up. There is just under 10 minutes left now, so I'm going to say it now. If you can like, subscribe, and all that good stuff, that would be absolutely fantastic. Don't forget to get your comments in within the comment section. It helps with the algorithm and everything massively. And if you are still watching this, thank you very much. Now, we have got some of the more popular sections to come, because obviously the Lego movie section just happens to be this way. I've not left it on purpose, it's just happened to be, I started where I started, and then I've just done a loop from a different part of the park. So hopefully you guys are enjoying it so far. We are walking up the stairs and past all the pumpkins, and then to the left hand side is the castle. We're coming into the adventure section, so you can see the air balloon a little bit further forward. But if we keep the castle to our left, or directly in front of us, it now means that we're going to be walking in a straight line to the Lego Movie World. We'll just do a horseshoe shape, so it's got one entrance in, one entrance out, and you can pick and choose which way that you want to go. And if I listen, this ride is also running as well. Now, that would have been a good ride to do at the pitch black. You can see it going up the route. This is one of the little mouse coasters, and it would imagine the drop on that would have been quite cool as well. Now, I don't know if people were on it or they were just still running tests on it, but again, I just did not have the time to get on any of the rides, because the rides that were running were quite busy later on in the evening, only because obviously not all of the park was running, but a lot of the people were coming in mainly for the evening show as such, to have a look round. And a lot of the people that were there in the morning with the younger ones, we saw them leaving a little while ago, so it did stay busy throughout. Now, the Lego Movie 2 section, again, full detailed tours available within this. We managed to get on all of the rides and have a look at inside the 4D cinema and all that side of stuff, but you can see that is running and working. And to do that at night would be good fun, because that is the one where it just spins round and goes. There was a lot more rides than I could actually remember running when it was dark, so it might have just been the odd one or two, but you can see that and how cool that looks lit up at night. And obviously it's based on the Duplo invasion from the Lego Movie 2. If you have managed to get on that at night, let us know what you think. I know they have got one of these in Germany, but that is for the Ninjago theming, but it does look pretty cool. You got this actually mixed up completely, because I actually originally thought that had been rethemed from the Star Wars section, but apparently not. Apparently all of this that we're looking at now has been added in and is a whole new land, and nothing has been refurbed. So I'm glad I got corrected with that in the comments. You can see that they've got a lot of the big models. You've got obviously the Emmett's couch over there. You've got a lot of photo opportunities and lots of places that you can sit down. I do believe we'll be just about to walk past Benny's spaceship as well, which is basically their play area. So there'll be lots of kids running around and doing things. You can see how all the facial on the walls and everything look very, very effective with all the lights. You've got the Unikitty drop tower, which is on the right hand side, which is the fire and ice, and this big thing in front of us is the Emmett's ride, or the flying adventure, shall I say, Emmett's flying adventure, which is exactly the same as Legoland's Mythica, but it's the same internally, but obviously all the theming and everything is completely different. And obviously it's not the same show, but it is the same kind of thing. And I do believe they have this exact ride also in Legoland Florida, because that actually did take over one of the re-themes as well. So let us know what you prefer. Let us know if you like the Lego Movie 2 stuff, or let us know if you liked what was there originally in Florida. And again, let us know what you think of the Mythica. But there are plenty of playlists available for the Legoland parks throughout the 2022 season and further afield, hopefully for the 2023, as I mix in the Legoland tours with some of the other theme parks as well. So I'm going to try and approach the 23 year slightly differently. Now travel is starting to get slightly easier, so we will see what is to come. But how does this compare to any of the theme parks that you've done at night? Forget the theming with regards to just it being Halloween, take all the pumpkins and everything away, but how does this compare with regards to the uses of lights or the rides that are open? If you've obviously gone to a Halloween Horror Night in Florida or anything like that, it's obviously on a much larger scale over there, but I still think the theming in Billund, they've done a really good job, because they've obviously added all of this in for the evening, and then they will end up taking this all away, I would imagine, in the new year, because I can keep saying the park will then be closing at sort of 4, 5, 6 o'clock. But you do have these cool flashing lights from the fire ride as well, which is obviously it's the first time I've ever seen that. They must have always been there, but you can't really see it unless you're on the ride. But again, slightly different on this one. Doesn't look like anything is going on that one, so that one might be closed, because again, you've got to run around and it is quite dark on the track, but it is nice to see the queue line and everything lit up. Now we are directly in the adventure section, so directly in front of us is the roller coaster that is closed. to the left hand side you will have a ride that is open. There is a shop directly there, you can see where the lights are. Another photo opportunity with some of the CMF Series 14 horror minifigures, I do believe. This also has a new water game, another boat race, which I hopefully will try and have a look at. This might be where I try to get my phone out and just have a better look, because obviously it is very, very dark within this section. We can see it's a cool little thing where you build the boats up at the top and then you race them down to the bottom. But this one is again completely different to the other one, and this is just beside where the real life penguins are. Depending on what time you go and have a look at the penguins, they'll be getting fed, but I think they were just chilling out literally in the glass display. And you can say glass display in their house, which has the glass display in front of it, and they obviously have a good area to swim around and everything like that. But if you did not know the penguins were in this section, this is where they are located. I don't think I ended up walking all the way down to the bottom, only because there was nothing down that way. If you just walked in a straight line, it was basically pitch black. There were some toilets, and there was nothing really to look at that section of the park. But I do believe that is where the jousting bit was, and you can see the overflow car park from there. And I would imagine that's where they set the fireworks off from for the end of season Halloween display. I could be massively wrong, but I think that's where the fireworks get taken from. And it'd be very interesting what they're going to be doing with that section of the park, because I know in the comments below people have said in the past that they do use it for like music events and shows. That's where the video bits and pieces were done, which I did catch for their 90th year of play. So they do use that space from time to time, but I've never been at or in Billund when that has actually been open. So if you have gone around that way, then obviously please do let us know in the comments below. We have 2.5 minutes left, so hopefully I have not bored you too much. We're now going up a different staircase into where we started. If I was to walk up in a straight line, we would have seen basically just some shops and the other end and the other fascia of that roller coaster, or the mouse coaster shall I say, that was running. So there are multiple ways round this section that you can go, but we are now coming into where all the water is where we first started. And like I said, there are some different bits and pieces to see within this, and it is quite nice to see it again. Now it is pitch black, but I think we've basically covered almost the whole park. I know we didn't go into any of the shops, but they are all available in much greater detail in earlier videos throughout the year, and also other videos that have been uploaded for the Halloween season. If you are interested in seeing this during the day and just seeing what it looks like just for the Halloween theming, all of those videos are available in the LEGOLAND Billund 2022 playlist, along with others as well from, for example, Easter and other bits and pieces like that as well. You can just see how the theming changes ever so slightly, and we do manage to go into all the shops and basically check out the rides in much greater detail. But that again is the projection screen, and then as we come round we'll have a loop, and I think what we'll do is we'll finish at the front of that projection screen. So we now go in and turn left rather than turning right, so you can see how effective all of these coloured balls and everything are. And then what we'll do is we'll finish up and over by the projection screen, because it has a nice pumpkin being projected on the back wall. So we have 1 minute to go, so I'm slowly starting to run out of things to say. But guys, hopefully you've enjoyed the tour. As always, help each other in the comments, let me know what your favourite bits and pieces were. I really liked this section just because visually it was a very nice place just to walk around. You could easily sit down with your hot food if you wanted to and just sort of soak everything in. But that is it, I am done. Guys, as always, thank you very much for watching, but hopefully you guys have enjoyed this tour of LEGOLAND Billund for the Brick or Treat 2022 season. But as always, thanks very much for watching. You guys take care, and I'll catch you next one. Ta-da.